Hi everyone. I decided to make this video for those of you who are still working on your rocket models. Based on some of your feedback, I think some of us are not quite sure where to start. So I think this video is going to be helpful just orienting you and going through the assignment together. Okay. So the first thing we've got to do is open up our assignment. So if we're in Google Classroom, I always like going to classwork first. Scrolling down to Q3 week 6 assignments. This is the week that the project was assigned. And it's right here, Q3 week 6 final rocket model. Okay, so when I click on it, let's see, view assignment. Okay, it'll look a little different for you because you're a student in Google Classroom where I'm the instructor, but you'll see that there's a document, and then I also added a link here. So I think this is a great place to start. It's just reminding us what the rocket launch looks like in the first place. So if you'd like to revisit it, go ahead and click on the link. We'll skip that. We can start the video over. And this is the same video that we watched at the very beginning of the unit. So I'm just going to kind of scroll through a bit. You'll see it's the entire rocket launch video. So the reason why I suggest you re-watch this video will become clear in a moment as I open up the assignment. So here's the document. Okay, Q3 week 6 final rocket model. And you'll see the title matches as well, final rocket launch model, and this assignment is worth 40 points. I'm going to go ahead and read through this opening paragraph. So we have learned a lot during Unit 6, from why most matter exists in arrangements to differences between endothermic and exothermic reactions. You should be proud of all that you have accomplished. As a final assessment of your understanding, you will construct a second rocket launch model. You'll be able to see your growth by comparing your initial rocket launch model to your final rocket launch model. Okay. So again, at the beginning of the unit, we did a very similar assignment. I asked you to create a rocket launch model. The difference is now we're at the end of the unit. We've learned so much throughout, so my expectations are much greater. I think you can really put together a strong model. Okay, so the question you're trying to answer in your model is, what happens during a rocket launch of a shuttle to allow it to leave Earth and enter space? We have our learning target and success criteria here. This was from day 1, this assignment, so for our purposes now, we can go ahead and skip those. This is your project task list, okay? So this is supposed to help guide you from the very beginning, I haven't even started my model, to the very end, I'm ready to submit my work. So the first step is to look back at your initial rocket launch model on Google Classroom. The assignment name is Q3 Week 1 Initial Model. Okay. While you're working on this, you can put a Y yes for being in progress, and once you complete it, you can put a Y for yes in complete. So you don't have to use this task list, but I think it's going to help guide you going from beginning to end. Okay, so after you look back at your initial model, just to get an idea of what you did 6 weeks ago, you can go on to step 2. Okay, so let's say that you've missed some classes this unit, that's okay. Step 2 is going to help you get caught up. So gather information either from your own notes or the Unit 6 resources on the next page. Think about what information you want to include in your final model. Okay, so where are these Unit 6 resources? If we just scroll down one page, here they are, Unit 6 resources. Okay, for all the topics that we've covered in this unit, so we see there's combustion reaction. What is rocket fuel? bond energy, endothermic and exothermic reactions, Newton's third law of motion, and then kind of an overarching summarizing reading, Unit 6 reading. Okay, so there are links that cover all of these chemistry topics that we've covered. Some of them are readings, some of them have diagrams, some of them are videos. Okay, so if you aren't sure where to start with your model, looking through these resources is really going to help you out. Okay, there's also space for you to take notes while you sift through these resources. Maybe it's taking a screenshot and putting an image right here in the notes. Maybe as you're watching a video, you can jot down some notes as well. Again, this is optional. I'm not grading you on the notes that you take, but it should help you gather information for your model. Okay, so back to the task list. Once you've finished collecting information, step 3 says read through the performance indicators in the rubric. So this is again inside the same document. Down here is the rubric. Okay, so I'm not going to read through each performance indicator for the sake of time now, but you'll see that there are 5 different ones. Labels, explains what is happening and why, steps in order, diagrams include things not seen with the naked eye, and titles. Okay, so these are worth a different amount of points. You'll see that explains what is happening and why is worth the most points, 15 points. So it's crucial that you really understand what I'm asking for in this description. So before starting your model, I highly encourage you to read through each of these descriptions. Okay, this is what I'm evaluating you on. Okay, so let's say you're done reading through the rubric. Let's go back to the task list. Now it's time to make the first draft of your model. Okay, I've received a lot of questions. Do I have to make my model on paper? Are you asking for a physical, like 3D model of a rocket? There are a lot of different ways to do this, but let's go ahead and look at the description under first draft of rocket model. Okay, it says place an image of your model in the box below. This is not the model you made at the beginning of the unit, but a revised model that you create this week. This is what your peer will look at when they give you feedback. You are not graded on your initial draft. It does not need to be perfect. It should be a work in progress. So this can be done on paper, so you can hand draw your model. This can be done on Jamboard, or it can be done on Google Slides. So you have options of how to make your model. But again, to guide you as you're making your model, you should be following the performance indicators in the rubric. Okay. After your initial model, this is when you do peer review. Okay, so peer review is done within this rubric. It says peer evaluation by blank. So you put the name of whoever is evaluating you. And this doesn't have to be a classmate. This can be a family member. This can be a friend outside of our class. They just need to read through the descriptions, look at your model, and give you feedback. So for example, let's say that a family member looks at your model and notices, yes, you have labels, but some things are not labeled. That's a perfectly fine thing to write. So yes, your model has some labels, but it could use more. Okay. That's an example of something that someone can write. Once your peer fills out this evaluation in the rubric, you will go on to your final draft of your rocket model. So place an image of your final model in the box below. There should be noticeable differences between your first and final draft. Okay, so what are those differences? You take the feedback, you take the suggestions that your peer gave you in the evaluation, and you make the changes. If they said you need more labels, you should add more labels. Okay, If they said that you don't cover all of the descriptions for explaining what's happening and why, then you should add some more descriptions. Once all of those changes are made and you're happy with your final draft, you upload a picture and place here. Okay. And the last thing you do before submitting is the self-evaluation. This is the final check to make sure that you've covered everything I'm asking for in the rubric. So you individually read through the descriptions one last time and comment to say whether or not you've covered each performance indicator. The teacher evaluation is left blank. This is where I'm going to give you feedback as I grade. Okay, so I know I've gone through a lot in this video, but I just want to make sure that you fully understand what I'm asking of you. So as you're working today, if you have any more questions, feel free to ask me. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the work that you create. Okay, best of luck.